Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a great project for you today. It's so interesting to me how you make a few little changes and a whole new pattern appears. So let's take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this fun? I mean, this is just a great, really fun, kind of modern looking pattern. We're calling it Sparkle because it looks like little pops of color here and there, and I just love how it all came together. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is 3 packs of these 5-inch squares, and we've used Flow by Moda for Zen Chic. You're also going to need 3 3/4 yards of background fabric, and that's your white fabric. That's all this fabric in here. And then you're going to need 1.5 yards for your border. We've put a 6-inch border on there that's just really fun. Makes the whole quilt pop. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our background fabric, and we've got to cut some squares for this. So you're going to cut 5-inch strips, and then you're going to subcut those into 5-inch squares, and you're going to need 80 of those. Then we're going to take and we're going to cut some 3-inch strips and cut 3-inch squares. These are going to be our snowballing squares, and so for that you're going to need 160 of those. And you're also going to need some pieces for our fun sashing when we set it, and you're actually going to need 20 5 by 14-inch rectangles, but we'll cover that a little bit later. So the first thing we have to do is make our snowball block. So we're going to take one of our squares like this, and we are going to take 2 of our 3-inch squares, and we're going to snowball the top corners. So to snowball a corner, what you're going to do is take your little square, fold it diagonally. Make sure it hits the corners. I've got one that's kind of leaning over there. And you can iron it, or you can finger press it like I just did, or you can draw the line, either way. And when you draw the line, you just lay a ruler on there and draw a line from corner to corner. And then we're going to attach these squares to the top right and the top left corners. We have to do them one at a time. So we're going to sew right along this edge, trim this off, and iron that back, and add another corner to the other side. So we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew this on. So now what we're going to do is make sure your little 3-inch square stays lined up along the outer edge of your 5-inch square. And then we're going to center our sewing machine so that it's right on that line. And we're just going to sew straight across to the corner, just like that. Now a good test to see if you got a good straight line is to fold this back, and it should line up pretty close on that corner. See how mine right here, see how this right here, it's a little bit off. You can see that other piece. That won't matter because I'll be able to catch that in the 1/4-inch seam. But if it's way off, or you know you can't catch it in the seam, then you're going to want to do that over and make sure that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this corner off right here, and I'm going to press it back and give it a good press so that it's just nice and flat, because then what we're going to do is we're going to add our other 3-inch corner to the other side, just like this. All right, and see how they cross over here? They're going to have it's going to cross right over. That's exactly how it's supposed to look, like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew right along this line. All right, I'm centering it up. Take a few stitches, make sure we're still lined up, and just go from one side to the other. Okay, so now we're going to trim this off right here. And you can use your rotary cutter or scissors, either way. And we're going to press this back. So your square should still be a 5-inch square. That should remain the same. So you're going to do this to all 4 of them. And or to 4 squares. And I've done that to 4 right here. So here's my 4. And now I get to show you how this block goes together. This is really fun. It goes together just like a 9-patch. So we're going to make sure that all of our snowballed corners are to the outside, like this. And we're going to put these together like this. I think I'm going to mix these over here a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to put a center square in there. That's colored just the same, regular 5-inch squares, because these have all remained 5 inches, so is this. Then we're going to take 4 of the 5-inch squares we cut out of our background fabric, and we're going to put those on the corners. Just like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew 3 rows of 3 together, and we're just going to take these rows over to the sewing machine and sew them together. The first row is right here. You can see I'm just going to lay this on here, right sides together, and sew 1/4 inch down, and do that to both sides. We'll do the same thing to the middle and the same thing to the bottom. So let's sew these together. This is one of those blocks that's pretty gratifying because as you start sewing it together, it looks, it looks a lot more complicated than it is. So I'm sewing a white square to the outside of both of my little sparkle block. Alrighty. Now we can put this together, but the most important, one of the most important things on this is the pressing. So our top 2 rows we're going to press to the out, our middle rows we're going to press in. So when I say press to the out, what I mean is I'm going to press on the top here, make sure that it stays nice and flat with no pleats or folds. I'm going to open this up and by some miracle, they're both pointing out. That doesn't usually happen. Usually you have to rearrange your seams a little bit, but maybe if I do that here, it'll happen again. So again, I'm going to press the top, flip it over, and make sure my seams are going the direction that I want them to. Now on this middle one, because our outside ones are going out, we want this one to go in. The reason we do that is because it will help them nest better. All right, so we've got this nice and flat, flip it over, and we've got to change the directions this one is going. All right, so now these 2 are pressed in. See how that goes in, and then these go out. So that's going to allow it to nest up. We're going to be able to just pull these in, and they're going to snug up real tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these right sides together, and right here we're going to nest that seam, and we're going to sew these 3 rows together. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. All right, I got a few stitches to anchor it, and then I'm down the side making sure that I'm lined up at my intersection where my squares line up. And then we're going to add that last row on the bottom here, just like this, and it will all come together. It's one big block. Alrighty. So then your block should look like this. Isn't that cute? So let's iron that out. This is just a really quick, easy, fun block, isn't it? All right, so let's make our seams go the way we want them to on the back. And we have this cute block. Now for the sashing. So let me show you about the sashing. You're going to take your background strips and you're going to cut them into 5-inch strips and subcut them into 14-inch. So 5 by 14-inch rectangle. And you're going to sew it to one side, just like that. We're going to put these right sides together and we're going to sew this 1/4 inch right down the side. Alrighty. So again, all we just did was take a 5 by 14-inch rectangle and attach it to the bottom of our block, and that makes our whole sashing. It's so cool how this goes together. And this is a good sashing to remember for other blocks that you want them kind of offset. So here's what we're doing. We've got this one like this, and I've got some blocks I've already sewn together here. And this next block here, we're going to see how they're exactly the same. We're just going to flip it around like this. See, and it offsets them. So let me show you how this whole row goes together here, because I've got a few more done here. All right, so these are sewn together, so I'm going to go back and flip this one and flip this one so the whole thing works. Look at that. Just like that, you've got your row, and your sashing offsets them just by adding that 5 by 14 inch piece on the bottom. So let's take a look at this. We've got 5 across here and 4 down. The reason that makes the quilt, usually it's longer than it is wide, but the reason it works is because we are adding a 5-inch piece on every single one of these blocks. So, you know, it makes it longer. So we've got 5 across by 4 down, and just by adding that piece and flipping them around every other time, it gives it that cool offset look. And then you're just going to sew your rows together. You're going to go ahead and just put a border right on there. We didn't have any inner border. We just had our 6-inch border on the outside, and just goes together so fun and quick. And look at this back. Look how cute this is. We took one of the fabrics from the line and put it on the back. Just makes a really cute back. So this is a lot easier than you thought it was, and so much fun. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Sparkle Quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.